guys. Welcome to this week's episode of TRUUU Podcast. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm your host, Drea.
And today we're going to be talking about something that's really the bane of my existence, actually, but we're just going to talk about it anyway because it's fun. It could be kind of a guilty pleasure, but we're going to talk about reality TV shows, what we watch, what we enjoy, all that sort of thing. But before we get into that, let's get into our week updates since it's been a little while since we last spoke with you guys. So, Dre, tell us about how you've been.
Oh my gosh, these past 2 weeks have been total hell for me. Like, it's been chaotic at work because my boss has been promoted to being a vice principal at a different high school in our district. And so for like a short period of time, which I haven't even told you this, Alex, but for a short period of time, like it was in the realm of possibility that I was going to take over his role. But then that's been like super shut down by like not by like my bosses, because like my boss is like my principal, my current boss, like they've been like pushing it.
Right.
District, they're just like, nope, we're not doing it. Like, we're not going to do it. And they're just like, dude, that sucks. Cause like, you know, like the kids are totally going to be left astray, but whatever, they'll figure it out. But yeah, it's like really wild because my boss was hoping, well, he was originally interviewing for the AP job either at our school or at this other school in the district, right? That he used to work at. There's 3 schools in our district. And so when they were telling him like to prepare for it, they were just like, oh, like keep in mind that like you need to like cater to the other school, like, you know, don't just like cater to the school you're at,
Right.
And so he did really well. Well, actually, he did really well in the first round, and then the final round, he said he totally bombed it, which like I don't really believe him.
Right.
Like he says that, and then he got offered the job, but he got offered the job not at our school, not at the other school he used to work at the 3rd school in our district that wasn't even hiring for an AP position.
Oh, what happened to that school's AP?
So basically, they're gonna take the AP that's there, put them at our school right now, and he's gonna go there.
Interesting.
Which I think is so stupid because their argument for it is that like, oh, like Duke's such like a culture person and he's like turned around like, you know, the whole feeling and everything of, you know, the school that we're at, whatever. And the school that he's going to is like the worst one in the district, like zero culture, their ASB program is trash, like it's just not good. Like it's not a good school, and they're claiming that they want to put him there so that he can like do for that school what he did for our school, you know? But okay, like that's fine and good, whatever that argument.
Sure.
But the issue is that the AP that they're taking out of that school and putting at South Hills is like the beloved AP who is like so close with all the teachers and close to the kids. And it's like, why would you take out a person who's already like a culture person for another person who has no ties with anyone there? Like, how is that going to make it better? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, unless I guess they were under the impression that there just needed to be some like fresh blood. Like maybe there's like, you got too stagnant here, so like you're going to move somewhere else now and we're bringing someone new. Not to say that that's a bad thing for, you know, either person, but I don't know. People make weird decisions sometimes.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, whatever, we're over it. Like, he was really upset about it. But at this point, he's just like, well, what's the point of like moping? Like, I'm just gonna like tell myself that it's a good opportunity, whatever. So I'm like, okay, like, and obviously I have to quit because I'm student teaching in the fall. So like I submitted my letter of resignation today.
Ooh.
Ugh, I know, like I felt so nasty doing it. Like I sent the email to like our, I don't know what she is. She like works at district. And she was like, oh, thank you. And then like someone else reached out to me and they're like, oh, like if you're gonna quit, you have to like fill out this like official form. And they like sent me the link and I was like this like huge DocuSign thing where it's like, I, Drea Madrigal, you know, like resigned from this position effective, like this super legal form. And I was like, oh my God, like it's like saddening. Like it's like scary and saddening. Like I know I have to do it, but at the same time, it's like I'm giving up such a good job, you know, like a really secure job.
Well, that makes it all feel super real too.
Yeah.
Filling out all the scary documents, man.
It was stressful today. And then yesterday, this is like my last thing, but like I have been, do you remember when we did that paint night, you, me, and Amanda, like maybe a few weeks ago, and I told you guys how I had to take like a test the next day for like my C-sets, and I was like, I didn't study at all. Like I'm gonna fail it. Like I know I'm gonna fail it. And I failed it. And And so here's the thing, like I needed to pass it. Like I need to pass that last test before I student teach in the fall. And the thing is that like when I failed that time ago when we were painting, I rescheduled it for like the soonest available date because there's like a certain time period that you can't have like retake the test in. And so like yesterday was like the date. So like that was a long time. It was like 2 months or something like that. And I was like stressing because I'm like, I need to get this done because the result, like you get a preliminary report right after you submit it, like it tells you if you passed or failed, but you don't get the official report until like maybe 2 months afterwards, like 1 to 2 months afterwards. And so like I need this before the start of fall, which is August. And if I didn't pass it, I would have to wait 2 months to retake it. And then 2 months after that to get the results. I'm like, oh God, I really need to pass it. So like I was really stressed out. So I took it yesterday and every single question that was on it was the exact same question as like the last time I took it. Like exactly the same. Like I had read all the, but here's the thing, like when you take it and you get the results, it doesn't tell you like which questions you got wrong or like what was right or whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what I answered was correct, what I answered was wrong. So I was like, okay, well, Jesus take the wheel. I hope this time that I studied, at least my answers are like more right. And so yeah, like I finished, I submitted it, and I was in and out of there super fast. And then like she gave me my little handout as I was leaving, and I didn't want to look at it. Like I literally just like closed my eyes and like walked to my car, and I like put my stuff down. I closed my door, and I was like, okay, and it's like pass. I was like, yes. Oh my God, I was so freaking happy. I was like, thank you, baby Jesus. Like, this is the best thing that can happen. Like, I finished my schoolwork, I passed my test, I quit my job. I'm like, oh, this has been a hectic week.
See, I told you you'd pass. I believe in you.
I know. And like, that's what everyone's telling me. Like, my sister, you, my parents are just like, you're gonna pass. You've been studying. Like, you're not dumb. Like, you're smart, you know? But I was just like, but what if I don't? You know, it's just because like if I didn't, like I'd be so screwed because like I wouldn't have it in time to student teach. So it's just like that, like, you know, like that possible like what if situation. So that's why I was like freaking out, but it worked out. It's all good.
See, now you're all set up to enjoy your summer.
Yeah, well, that and taking classes.
Well, you know, it's the thought that counts, right?
Yeah, it'll be good. Anyways, tell us about your week, Alex.
Let's see, what have I been up to? Yeah, I mean, things have been pretty good, pretty chill. I feel like the past couple days have been like pretty intense for me in the sense of I started binge watching a new show. I told you about this the other day, but I started binge watching Attack on Titan because literally anyone who's into anime will tell you that you need to watch Attack on Titan. Like, someone at church on Sunday was, you know, telling me like, why aren't you watching Attack on Titan? Why haven't you seen it yet? And then your friend Robert at your birthday was just kind of like, you don't watch Attack on Titan? It's like, listen, guys, here's the thing, is that, and not that you can relate to this at all because you actually haven't watched the show I'm about to compare it to, but to me, Attack on Titan is kind of a lot like Game of Thrones in the sense where like you watch it and you have to keep watching it because it's really interesting, but it hurts you along the way.
Is it? Like, well, I feel like I've seen shows like that. Like Breaking Bad's a little bit like that.
Well, I mean, I would compare it to Game of Thrones in the sense of like, so Game of Thrones was notorious for like killing off characters that were like kind of integral to the plot. Like, because, you know, you'd think that the formula for most shows is that if they're not going to kill off any main characters, especially like not in the beginning, like if you're going to kill off a main character, you do it at the end or something. But people are dying all over the place in the show. And I just like, just now when you had texted me about recording tonight.
You were watching it?
I had just finished the 3rd season. So now I have to start the 4th one. The 4th season is the final season. And it's actually like, it's one of those things where like, it's been, I think, a couple of years since the last season happened. So the 4th season just recently started. I think it's on hiatus. So like part 1 is out and it's on hiatus for part 2. So I'm not like super into the idea of like binging through right away.
Because I feel like then you won't be able to see the whole season.
Right, I could just put it on ice for a little bit. And also, I think my brain needs a break. My psyche needs a break because I've been just so hurt by the show.
Yeah, I feel like you can't really binge shows like that. Like that's a tough show to binge. Like it's easy to binge like comedies and stuff, but
Right.
like shows that are like emotion packed, it's like
Yeah,
nah.
I feel like I need a palate cleanse now. Like I feel so subdued right now because I'm just kind of like, man, the show, what's it doing to me?
Well, Alex, I have a palate cleanser that we'll talk about later, but do you have any other things that happened to you this week?
Oh, okay. So one thing that is the general like cool announcement that I texted Drea about earlier today is so if you guys have Switch and if you play Mario Party, you know that there's a, Mario Party on the Switch that came out a couple years ago.
Hmm.
And the thing was, and the big disappointment for it was that the online play for it was super whack. So you can only like do like this specific like tournament thing for like mini games. Like you couldn't play the game boards with like your friends online and blah blah blah. And I feel like that was like its biggest drawback is that the
Hmm.
online playing wasn't that good. And like Nintendo just made like an announcement that there is a new update for the game because like that's one really cool thing about games nowadays is that like the developers can like put out updates.
Hmm.
So like it improves the game like as you're playing it. You're not just stuck with whatever game card you have
Right.
necessarily. So there's a new game download part thing for it where they improved the online gameplay. So now you can play boards with your friends and like that's the best part.
It's so ridiculous. I also need to like check on my live or what is it called? Online status.
You're so absurd. Yes. So like the other day when I saw her, because I saw her a couple days ago, I'm just kind of like, hey man, listen, you have a Switch and you've had it now for like a cool minute. Do you
Here's
have an online subscription?
in my defense though, like and I've charged it so now I can check actually. But in my defense, I started when I first got it on my birthday, like I started playing it like I was playing Luigi's Mansion like every day at night before I went to sleep, like a little bit here and there. And then I completely stopped because I was like nearing the end of my semester and I had all these projects and like all
Mhm.
this stuff going on with work. So I haven't played it in like maybe 2 weeks. So I'm like, in my defense, I don't know because I haven't touched it, but I will get back on it.
Right. So when I was physically making her check, her Switch was dead.
Yeah.
Which was like, that's exactly how it goes. And also, obviously, if you have the online, we should play Mario Party, but also you need to start getting on top of that Animal
I
Crossing.
know. I know. Well, I wanted to finish Luigi's Mansion first before I started like two games at once, but I could probably
Just
switch
do
between.
both. Because, like,
Okay. Well, I'm about to come into a lot of time, Alex, because my last day at work is June 15th. So I'm going to have a lot of time after that. So I can do infinite things.
yes, that's true. But anyway, so I feel like that's more or less what my updates are. There's not a ton going on with me right now, mostly just binge watching Attack on Titan and feeling sad.
Well, okay. Well, let's add some happiness to your life and talk about the reality TV shows that we used to watch, like growing up and currently,
Mhm.
I guess, slash. But what okay, so like you said that you really didn't watch too many in the day, right?
So, well, okay. What I'll say for this is that I watched the most probably when I was younger, but it's mostly like my parents were watching and I was around for it,
Okay.
that sort of thing. Me personally, I don't really like reality TV shows that much. I find them to be pretty annoying just because,
Mm-hmm.
like, first of all, most like TV shows like are scripted,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not really reality,
Real,
right?
yeah.
So like, all these things that you see, like I'm trying to think of a good example. Well, so I'll say one. Like one that I used to watch back in the day, like with my parents, was Big Brother.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I have. That was like the like really popular one for a while, right?
Oh yeah, for like probably I don't know, over 5 seasons, I think.
Well, because I'm pretty positive that it still airs today. And the reason I know that is because when the pandemic started, I remember reading an article about Big Brother and the people who are in the house had no idea that like COVID-19 was a thing, because like they were in the house during the time that like everything was changing, and like you have no like contact with the outside world when you're in the house.
That's so trippy because I feel like they must have rebooted it or something because I feel like it had to have gone off the air for a certain amount of time. But
I'm
anyway,
sure it did, but anyway, sorry, continue.
so as we kind of discussed a little bit, the premise of Big Brother is that like there's a bunch of like young people who are basically all in this one house together. And like the whole idea of it is to be the last one standing in the house, like to not be the last one voted out, like by basically like being, you know, kind of popular, I guess, in the sense that, you know, the forming alliances, all this whatever, like with different people. And it was just like it was kind of it was a little trashy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm not gonna lie, because like you
There was
know,
always like a scene where like they were hooking up and stuff, right?
yeah, all over the
Mhm.
place.
I remember.
Yeah, so Big Brother is a good example about how that's probably mostly scripted stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. It's also funny how you're saying how a lot of the reality TV shows that you watch were like when you were younger, because 99% of the TV shows I watched were also when I was younger. Like I watched one show recently, like within the last like 10 years, and that's the show that I got Alex on, and we'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, I'm with you in that whole sense. And mine were also more of like, how do I even explain this? I like fell into it because my sister would watch it like on MTV, and I don't even think that she had too much interest or like, you know, like any sort of anything with it, but like we were just so deprived of like entertainment that we're like, well, put it on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that stick out, or like some of the ones that like really stick out for me, was I don't know if you ever watched or heard of these three: Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, and A Chance at Love with Tila Tequila.
Well, I've heard of the last two at the very least, but
You never
only
heard of
really
Flavor of
heard.
Love?
I don't feel like I
Oh
have.
my God, sister, let me tell you right now. That was the craziest one. So Tila Tequila was actually really interesting because she was bisexual. And so like her show was like, you know, she's looking for love with like a man or a woman. So like
Right,
for that to be airing at that time, because this was like early 2000s, like that was pretty wild. Like that's pretty taboo to
right.
be airing during those years. But anyway, Flavor of Love, that one was so wild. And I think Rock of Love like kind of ripped Flavor of Love, because like the title and everything. Like Rock of Love was with like Bret Michaels, I think. Is that his name? The singer of Poison. Is
Okay.
that right?
I mean, yeah, I feel like it. I think he wore like a bandana all the
Bandana.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like know who it is, but like I feel like I think it was Poison. I think that's what it's called. And I think his name was Bret Michaels. I could be crazy. But anyways, like that was like based off of this original one called Flavor of Love. And that was with the like ex rapper like Flava Flav. I don't know if you know who that
Hmm.
is.
I
And
do.
so, okay, well, it was his show where like he basically like had a bunch of girls come in, and then upon entering, he would assign them like nicknames because he couldn't be bothered to remember their real name. And like every episode, kind of like The Bachelor, instead of like giving them roses, they would be presented with like clocks like around their neck, like a giant like necklace with a clock on it, because that's like what he would wear. It was like
Yeah,
his
so
style.
like, they're trying to win love with Flavor Flav.
Yeah. Which is absurd because he's like not appealing
I'm just
necessarily.
like, what kind of money are they being incentivized with? Like, is there some sort of cash prize at the end as well?
I mean, living with him, I don't know, it's wild. But like there were multiple seasons, so like he didn't even like end up with like the girls like long term. It's stupid. But anyways, and the first season was honestly like the most wild one, like absolutely insane. And I'm sure you know the people that were in it because there are so many memes about it, especially one girl in particular. Her nickname was New York. I don't know what her real name is, but she's always that meme, you know, like that meme is just like me when I get ready to go out and my friends cancel plans or something. And it's like that like woman who she's like, she has like sunglasses and she's sitting on her bed, like legs just crossed, and she's just like literally looking straight, like with like
I have no
sunglasses.
idea what I have no
Yes,
idea what meme
you
that is.
do. I'm gonna send it to you. Anyone who's like listening is knowing exactly what I'm talking about. New York memes. She was a legend, dude. Like, I can't even. Oh my god. And she ended up getting her own like spin-off afterwards because she was so like outrageous. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen really fast. You could describe it because maybe I didn't describe it well enough to our listeners.
Oh, yes. I've seen that before. So yeah, it's a girl, like she's like sitting on her bed, like back against like the headboard and whatever, like looking almost like she could be asleep but with sunglasses on. Yeah, looking kind of like she's pouting.
Yeah, and like there like all these like she was just such an icon for the show. And the reason why was mainly, well, she was kind of like a terror the whole show. But like there
Hmm.
was one scene in particular that like really like if anyone watched the show, it's just like, oh, I know about the Pumpkin New York scene. And it was basically like this other girl named Pumpkin. And I don't even know what the situation was. Like, I think Pumpkin got voted out. Like, Flavor Flav decided to like kick her out that round, and Pumpkin in New York had beef prior. And so, like, as she was walking out, Pumpkin, New York said something to her or something like that, or like I don't even know. She like said something sassy, and Pumpkin straight up spits on her face, and then New
Ew.
York like pummels her, like attacks her, and like the security Flavor Flav had to like rip these girls apart, and it was like like there's no way that was scripted. Like it was so wild.
See, that's the
Uh
thing. Like, I'm hearing you describe all these things that are happening, right? And I'm sitting here, I'm just kind of like, man, that sounds so dumb. Like, that just makes me so mad. Like, blah, blah, blah.
it was dumb. Like it was legitimately dumb. But like at the time I was like, oh my God, like what is going on? But yeah, that show was actually kind of fun. Like it was stupid. It was really stupid. But like looking back to it, it was fun. But yeah, so like Rock of Love was exactly the same concept, but with like I don't want to stereotype, but like with a different type of demographic that went on it.
Sure.
Um, and what was the third one I said? The third one that was like that? Oh yeah, Chance of Love, Tila Tequila. I mean, that was the same thing. It was just trashy. But anyways,
Right.
okay, give us another one of yours that you remember.
Okay, so this one is definitely like the primary one, and it's one that has not stopped haunting me since the beginning of the show.
Okay.
So, in the beginning, we all liked it. I will say that.
Okay.
The top one in my household is Survivor, like the survival TV show,
Right.
which, by the way, has had 40 seasons
My God,
since
it
it
seems
started in the year
unnecessary.
since it started in the year 2000. So like, usually when a TV show is like off air, like it doesn't come back until like the next like, kind of year basically.
Yeah.
So it has 2 seasons a year, essentially,
Okay.
more or less. So it's had 40 seasons this whole time. I was over it probably like 20 seasons ago. Because it's just
Yeah, it's too much.
like they keep bringing people back. They keep adding like these most ridiculous elements ever. I don't even know how they keep coming up with challenges anymore. I honestly do not understand how the show is still going, and my mom loves it so much. However,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
so so the most annoying like parts of it to me, like now, like my mom watching it, because I think my dad kind of watches it, like
mm-hmm.
since it's around him, but it's mostly my mom. So one would arguably say that like the challenges are the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom has gone into the really annoying habit the past, I don't know how many seasons, of fast forwarding through the challenges.
Why would you do that? I feel like that would be the most interesting part.
Right, exactly. But she's not really interested in that. She just wants to know how, like, who ends up winning the immunity or whatever, or the
That's
prize.
so funny. Your
Like
mom's so weird.
the only thing that she's really and truly interested in is tribal council at the end.
That's so funny.
And like I guess like their interpersonal dynamics when they're at camp.
I feel like that is never like my like when I watch reality TV shows, it's for like the challenges and like the games that they play. Like that's the part that interests me.
Right. So like the only thing I want to watch if I'm have the misfortune of being around
Uh-huh.
is I only want to watch the challenges, but she fast forwards through them.
That's so funny.
I'm
My
just kind of like,
boss,
ugh.
like my boss Duke, like loves Survivor. Like loves Survivor. Like he's always talking about like if I ever go on Survivor, like I would take this person and da 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 da. Like it's crazy.
Well, dude, you got plenty of chances.
I
They
know,
have
right?
they have seasons all the time,
I
so
know. I should tell him just apply to it.
you might as
Um
well. Because I mean, obviously, like I'm not saying that people from different walks of life can't be on the show, because they definitely can. They prove that time and time again.
mhm,
But I'm just kind of like, you're only young for so long, right?
right.
So I'm
That's
just
so
kind of like,
funny.
might as well, go while you're still in your physical prime.
You're right.
So like in the, I guess like the big three for what I would say was like playing all the time, like when I was growing up, was Survivor is one. I already mentioned Big Brother, and then American Idol, which I
Mm,
don't feel like needs that kind of explanation because everyone knows what American Idol is.
yeah.
However, I will say that I find it to be extremely annoying now
Yeah.
because like it is the most emotionally manipulative show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because like, and that's what I would say like when it transitioned from being a Fox show to an ABC show. So once it's transitioned into being ABC, then they stopped showing, the quote unquote funny auditions, you know, and only like brought people up in front of the camera if they had like the most like horrifying sob story ever.
Oh my God, that's so annoying. Yeah, I would be like, okay, like we heard this story
It's
before.
like,
Like I get it. Okay, like I don't want to like just,
yeah, because I'm just like, hey man, I can appreciate your struggle, I really can. But at the same time, you don't need to be like stabbed in the heart by every single contestant on the show, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like it's just like at some point it's like I want to be empathetic, but at some point you start losing your empathy because of just like the volume of like sob stories you start hearing. You know what I mean?
Right. And like my whole thing, I guess, with it as well is just kind of like, it's not the show that's like saving them or something. Like it's just really weird, I feel like, dynamic and like emotional manipulation that's going on.
I
I
feel that.
hate it.
I feel that.
So I'm just kind of like, um, the good thing there is that so my mom still watches the show to this day, much to my annoyance.
American Idol?
Yes.
Okay.
However, she will fast forward through all the judge commentary.
Oh my God, your mom is so weird.
So,
That's so
like,
funny.
yeah, she's gotten to the point now where she doesn't care about the judge commentary at all, probably because she doesn't care for any of the judges at all.
Who are the
But
judges currently?
Blake Shelton, who
Blake
had to
Shelton. I thought he was on The Voice.
no, I'm lying. Luke Bryan.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was gonna say Blake Shelton's on The Voice for sure.
Because I'm trying to think because I'm just kind of like I'm picturing Luke Bryan in my head and just kind of like some random
Some
bland
country
country
person.
singer that I don't care about. But yeah,
That's so funny.
Luke Bryan, who recently, and I would say recently in the past like couple months, actually like had to be off the show for a little bit, and they brought back Paul Abdul because he got COVID.
Oh,
He's
awkward.
fine, so he's fine, and they brought him back after the
Okay.
appropriate amount of time, I guess. So there's him, Lionel Richie, which Lionel Richie's really cool. I
Yeah,
actually
Lionel
like
Richie's
him
cool.
as a host, well, as a judge. And the last one's Katy Perry,
Mm,
which
love.
mm, I'm not like as on board with it, mostly because like uh everyone's attitude, like all the contestants' attitudes towards her, like they're just like unendingly worshipful over her. I'm just kind of like, literally, she's fine.
I like Katie, but like I feel like yeah, I kind of get that. I wouldn't worship her if it was someone like Lady Gaga, I'm more like, but
Anyway,
anyway. Anyway,
yeah.
one that we both watched that are on both of our lists was America's Best Dance Crew.
Which is so random. How would that end up on both of our lists?
I honestly don't know, but like I loved that show. Like I thought it was so fun to watch like the dances and like randomly like I'll be on YouTube like falling down a hole and I'll be like, "Ooh, America's Best Dance Crew season 1." Like
How is that
the
on there?
Jawwalkies, you know?
Yeah, dude. I should really look into that if it's on, if I could find clips of it on YouTube because I'm just like, I really love that show. When I'd be able to like randomly see it when no one else is watching the TV in my house on a weekday, which is
Hmm.
very seldom did I
Hmm.
get to watch this show. And there's not even like, live stuff or not live necessarily, but like new stuff. It was all like
Yeah,
reruns. But
that's
then
so
they took it
funny.
off. They took it off the air, man.
I know. I really like that show. But another okay, so this is a weird one. This one I'm just gonna like briefly talk about because I honestly don't even remember. But like me and my sister used to be really obsessed with the show when we were younger. It was called The Mole. And like long story short, it was like a group there was like a group of contestants and they were working together towards like one common like objective. And then
Uh-huh.
they had the opportunity to like vote off people, whatever. And the people that they would vote off would be the people that they thought was quote unquote the mole. And like there was one contestant in the whole group that was a mole who was like not actually working for the benefit of the group. Like they were working with like they were working for the producers to like sabotage the group.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like that game that's like really popular now. What's it called? Among Us?
Yeah, well, because it's funny that you say like Among Us because like to me older like games are coming up in my head like Mafia,
Oh yeah,
Werewolf,
Mafia.
the origins of these sort of games because everyone's all about Among Us right now. I'm just like, what about, Mafia or Werewolf? Those ones
Well, I
were around
mean, I'm trying to be
before.
relevant to the kids, but
I
yeah,
don't care about the kids.
I know you're right. We used to watch that show. It was really weird. I can't tell you anything else about it because I don't remember. It was so long ago. So there was that one. And then like there was also one season of the show that I watched in college. Like I used to watch it. Like me and Matt Wheeler were like really obsessed with it. It was called,
Hmm.
I think it was called The Chase,
Hmm.
and it was kind of like a Survivor-esque game show. Not really, because you don't, well, no, you didn't vote people off, I don't think. But like long story short, it was like the Hunger Games, but in like real life, and like you didn't die, you just got like kicked off, whatever. And so
Hmm.
like you had like a partner, like you were in teams of two, and you like represented a different, like, I don't know, color or something. And then
Hmm.
you'd be thrown into this like arena, like this map, like open wilderness, and like you would have to like survive, and like you had like paint guns or something, you like kill the other people if you ever like came across them, or no, it was like tag. Oh yeah, it was called like tag or something like that. I don't know. It was like this giant game of tag, but it was like high stakes tag. And it was like they only got one season. It was really entertaining when it was on, but like it was weird.
That sounds pretty weird. Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting. So I'd say one for me was like Family Feud.
Does that count as a reality TV show, or is that just a game show?
You know what? You're right. It doesn't count. I don't know why I put it on there, but it feels kind of reality-ish too as well sometimes because I'm just kind of like these people with their guesses, I don't even understand. But anyway, you're right. I'm taking that one off.
But I do
Um,
like that as a game show. Let me put that out there.
yeah, I don't know why I put that one. I'm losing my mind, I'm telling you. But anyway, so a different one then is Nanny 911 and
Okay,
like
I remember that one.
that sort of thing or like, Super Nanny or whatever, where like these people's kids
Mm-hmm.
were like the craziest ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I don't even understand how they get that way in watching, these nannies like supposedly like fix their house, fix their
Was
kids.
was that show the same show as Super Nanny?
Well, it's the same premise
Oh, okay.
where there's misbehaving kids and they bring in a nanny who
Like
tells the parents,
discipline.
you guys are the worst at
And
being parents.
was the nanny always like a British woman?
I think Super Nanny was.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. Not really. But actually in that same vein, that's something that I did watch occasionally was Wife Swap.
Oh, I remember Wife Swap. Yeah. I do
But
remember that. It was on like MTV, right?
maybe something like that. But like that was one of the craziest shows ever. Like, oh, I feel really underappreciated or whatever by my family, or I just want a different experience. So I'm gonna swap into someone else's family. Just
It's
like
like
that
really
idea is
problematic.
insane. It's
Yeah.
so insane, especially like, you know, if you go from a house like where, there's still like, help for you, like your kids don't like totally ignore you or whatever, and like your husband helps out or whatever, going into a house which is like you're basically a servant. Because like I remember seeing ones like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like
I
the
mean,
craziest thing. And then
I,
like here's the thing is that like both families like would be crazy or whatever, right? Like both families you don't want to be in that situation, but
mm-hmm.
they'd be driven so crazy by the, swapped wife that they'd just be like, oh, I have this totally new appreciation for my, spouse or mom or whoever. And it was kind of like, you guys are all the worst.
Yeah, I remember that show. It was really problematic and like stupid. But yeah, good call. That was like a deep cut. I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, two shows that I watched that were like so random and like so weird that were like in similar veins was like the Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson show, and they were like
Mm-hmm.
the Newlyweds, I think it was called,
Okay.
and the Hulk Hogan show.
Hulk Hogan show.
It was literally just like it was like the Ozzy Osbourne show, but like Hulk Hogan. It was so random, and I don't know why I watched it. I have no interest in pro wrestling, like zero interest,
Is
and I just
that why you
watched
call
it.
everyone brother?
You know, it might be. And that is a very like deep rooted thing because this show, I watched this show when I was like 8.
Maybe that's why you say
and
brother.
I call people like brother and like sister all the freaking time. So I'm like, oh, maybe.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, those shows are stupid. Like literally the Jessica Simpson Nick Lachey show was literally just like designed to make her look like a dumb person.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just always like every situation, any opportunity they got to make her look stupid, they would, which is like sad and like mean. And then the Hulk Hogan show was like it was so scripted. Like there was one episode, I'll give you an example. There was one episode where like the daughter, Brooke, she left her birth control on the counter, like just open in the middle of everything. And like
Mm-hmm.
Hulk comes home and he's just like, what the F? Like, da da da, what is this? He's like freaking out. And so like he like freaks out at like the I don't even know. Like he's freaking out with his friends. He's just freaking out. So eventually Brooke comes home with the mom and he's like ready to like lay into her and be like, what the F is this? Like under my house. Da, da, da. And she's just like, I literally take this. It's like doctor prescribed for my cramps. And the mom was like, yeah, Hulk, I took her. I knew about this. I just knew you would freak out like this, so I never told you. And it's like there's no way, first of all, that like she would just randomly leave her birth control in the middle of like in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
just laying out like that. You gotta take care of that, you gotta know where it is at all times. And then like it's just so like opportune or like such a perfect opportunity for like this to have like happened. Like it was just so like I was like, okay, this is so unbelievable. That was literally the last episode I watched. I was like, I'm out of here.
That sounds horrible. Oh my goodness.
It was really bad. It was really
Right.
stupid.
So my really stupid one that like I wouldn't say necessarily that I hate to admit that I'd watch it, but it's definitely one of those ones that like this is like I could barely stand it actually. Like I could only watch a few episodes. Is Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like
Never watched it.
you don't ever need to. You really don't. It's kind of the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, as most reality shows are that follow families, as you expressed with the Hulk Hogan show. So I feel like we don't need to spend too much time on that because as one can, assume, it just wasn't good. It wasn't a good time. It was just basically a bunch of them fighting and then being at the end, oh, but we're family, we love each other.
The only like good thing that came out of the show is like the random memes that like I'll see.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I remember there was like one where like it's who is it? It's Courtney and Chloe, I think. And like Chloe is like in Courtney's backyard and she's like like Courtney, why is there no Wi-Fi? And she's just like, because like I don't want the radiation. We don't have routers and da, da, da. And Chloe's like getting pissed and she's like, my Snapchat won't go through. And Courtney's like, no, the radiation. And Chloe's like, God dang it, like if the radiation's gonna kill you, at least go out with a nice snap going through. I thought it was so funny. Like,
Oh
like
my
things like that are
goodness.
really funny, but like I wouldn't be able to like actually sit down and watch this insane show.
Yeah, it was really insane. So then two other ones. One was actually America's Next Top Model.
I watched that like one episode.
It was I mean, I don't really like necessarily the judging aspect of it, but I thought that all the modeling pictures were kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
just all the behind the scenes and that sort of thing of that was pretty cool to watch. All of them were super mean to each other on there though, so just like that was always kind of a bummer to see. But anyway, I didn't watch that for that long either. But one show, Run Reality TV. Oh no, I feel like it's on the precipice of being reality TV, but not really. Actually, I'm going to take it off. So that's going to be, I'm taking that one off. However, I will give an honorable mention for a reality TV. No.
I'm like,
still
finish
a game
the
show.
thought. Okay, well, I have an honorable mention, and I think
Yeah.
you also like this show. And it recently got re-brought on to Hulu, Fear Factor.
Oh my gosh. I'd watched that so often when I was young.
Yeah, dude.
Holy
That was
smokes.
a stressful show. Like I started rewatching it like now as an adult and like it's really because I remember being a kid and being like, oh, I could totally do this stuff. Like I could totally be on this show that. And then like looking at like rewatching as an adult, I'm like, hell no, would I ever go on this show? Like, heck no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, really, because I feel like, well, the second challenge on that show is always either the gross or like creepy one.
Yeah.
So like that usually involved like sitting in tanks of snakes. Like with getting snakes poured on you. I'm just kind of like, that's my literal nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't need that. Or like drinking a shake of bugs or something.
I feel like I could probably do most of the eating ones, probably.
Really?
I more than in a tank of rats, you know?
I'd have to really think about it, but I'm leaning more towards the tanks of, things over eating anything.
So you would rather be in a tank of snakes than just eat a smoothie of like ants, you know, something like that.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't know until I was really presented with it.
My
But
rationale for the whole
you know how I am about food and textures. You really know this about me.
I know, but like I guess my rationale for it is like people in different parts of the world eat these things. Like, you know, like there was like one where they're eating crickets. I'm like, in Mexico, they eat crickets, you know, like they eat scorpions, you know, like it's not an outrageous thought. It's just like in our society, it's an outrageous thought. So I'm like, if I just take myself out of like what Americans tell me, it's normal, you know? So
I
that's
just
my
never be
rationale with it.
I just never be on Fear Factor. I'd be like,
I mean, yeah, you're
nah.
right. You're right. I would never either. But if I was, anyway.
So the reason why this whole conversation about reality TV shows has come up between the two of us is because I was hanging out with Drea the other day, and she's just like, "Hey, have you heard of this show called The Circle?" And me, not even thinking reality TV, is just like, "Yeah, I think I might have heard of it." And she's like, "Well, let me just let's just watch one episode because I think you knew that if you were to cop to what it was, I'd been just like, no, I don't
Uh-huh.
want to watch this."
I know
So
you too well.
So just go ahead, tell our listeners here what the show is all about.
God in heaven. So, long story short, I was roped into this in a very similar vein as Alex was because my sister kept on telling me, "Have you watched Circle? Have you watched Circle? Have you watched Circle? Will you watch it?" Da, 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 da. And I'm like, "No, Neil, I'm busy. I'm not trying to get into a new show." La, la, la. Mother's Day comes around. We're not doing anything. And I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna put one episode of The Circle on," and I'm like, "Whatever." And so basically, it's this show, and it's kind of like okay, so it's like a reality TV show, a game show where like the contestants that are on there are all competing to win $100,000 prize. But
Right.
the form of competition is that it is all virtual, like it's all via social media, and they have to create like social media profiles and only interact through like texting, DMing, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like you can set up your social media profile to be like yourself, or you can catfish and like come in as a totally random other person.
Uh-huh.
And so like the whole time you like when you're talking to these people like via social media, you don't know if you're talking to like a real person or you're talking to like a total like catfish. And so like that's the whole premise. And then like every episode, the whole group like votes on the people that they think are like the top influencers, and the top influencers end up getting to choose like who gets kicked out of the circle. And it sounds outrageous, but
Hmm.
it's so interesting.
So here's the thing is that how I felt at the beginning of the show really just changed like 5 episodes in because I feel like we watched like 5 episodes
Yeah,
while
we
we were
watched like
sitting
5.
there. So like in the beginning, like pretty much after they set up their profiles and whatever, like they have to go around and rate each other's profiles. Like that's how like someone gets picked to be an influencer is that, the other people who are competing like your profile that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, initially it's based solely on, superficial stuff because they haven't talked to each other yet at all.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't DM'd each other, they haven't done any of that stuff. So like it's purely superficial and whatever. And one of the reasons why it actually kind of hooks me is that while like the premise of this is like pretty superficial and I kind of think annoying because I really don't like the idea of social media being, king and then influencers and blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
is that these people like really based their ratings the second time around on like who is the most likable person, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like the contestant who came in who just kind of like, I think social media is dumb, I'm just gonna be myself, blah, blah, blah. Like he was in the top two.
Mm-hmm.
In the second, ranking. He became an influencer just by trying to be a good person. Is
Mm-hmm.
he getting pumped super hard by a catfish? Absolutely, man. It was just like it was so conflicting because at the beginning, like when they were introducing like all the contestants and whatever, and like kind of giving their stories, like I was super like, oh, I'm all about these catfish, man, like because this whole premise is so dumb. But then
Mm-hmm.
you start getting like kind of hurt by it. Like
Yeah, like
as a bystander, like watching it, I'm just kind of like, I feel so bad for the people getting catfished.
yeah. It is like, and especially because like, so when you get voted off, you have like one or like an option to visit one other person in the circle and actually meet them face to face.
Right.
And two, you leave like a video message for the entire circle to watch the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like at some point, because only one person can win it, obviously, and there's multiple catfish, at some point, the catfish are gonna like either have to visit someone or someone's gonna visit them. Their video is gonna be released, and it's just like, oh my gosh, the drama! Like, there's gonna be heartbreak. Like, it's a lot.
This show is very good at creating like episode to episode cliffhangers that reel you into the next one because like they
Mm-hmm.
won't like the key results or the key like the meeting up or like whatever, it doesn't happen until like the episode after. So they get you to watch the next episode because like, you have to know what the results are. Like that's how it got me. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I just want to know what happens here.
Mm-hmm.
But then they get you into like,
The
watching the
next,
next
and you're like,
episode.
I might as well
Like
watch it.
I'm just like I'm in this now.
Yeah.
I'm I feel a little bit of shame about it, but yes, I'm in it now. But I
I'm
was yeah, because I was saying, to her earlier, I'm just like I'm so depressed from, watching all this Attack on Titan and just being hurt by the show that I feel like I need to watch a couple more episodes of The Circle just to like make myself feel
cleanse.
better.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's hard to say it's a feel good show because like I said, it's like stressful in the sense of like, oh my God, like they're gonna be heartbroken, they're gonna be shocked, da da da. Da. But at the same time, it's also like a really feel good show, especially season one, because like you said, like it's so cute how like if you're just yourself and you're a good person, like it kind of like goes to show who comes out on top in the end, you
Well,
know?
and the thing is, and I can only, speak for the, contestants who are on the show, like as of episode 5, because like one mechanic of the game thus far is like when someone got voted out, they brought in a new contestant, which I
Right.
want to see how they end up just like narrowing it down, because obviously it has to get down to one, so how are they going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
But all the people that they bring in, they surely they have their annoying traits about them and their annoying habits and being like way too superficial, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, they're all nice people.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're very likable people.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of just end up feeling for all of them. So just like I don't even know who I want to win this thing at all because I'm just like you're all, pretty nice even though you're annoying.
That was a pretty good thing at the end because like there are people that I had like an affinity towards, but at the end, because you just get to know these people so deeply that you're just like, honestly, I would just be okay with whoever wins it, you know?
Hmm.
So it's a feel good show in that sense, like definitely. I can't wait for you to see the rest of season one so that we can actually talk about it at length.
I will say though that honestly at this point I don't want any of the catfish to win just on principle.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know like bravo for you for being able to really like um trick everyone that whole time, but it just feels dirty to want them to win.
That's hilarious because when you first saw the
I
catfish, you're like,
know.
I'm here for it. I want them to go all the way. Da da da.
I changed my mind.
I know. The show gets you. Like the show really like changes your opinion on it. Cause like you said, like I thought it was stupid. Like I was telling Alex when we were watching the first episode, everything that she was saying when we were watching the first episode was like exactly what I said when I watched the first episode. Like I was like,
Because
screw that person, like this is dumb, like da da da, you know? And then as it keeps going, you're like, oh, wait a second. Like I
yeah, and especially since I'm not generally a person to talk back to the TV like as like I'm watching a show, but like this is one of those ones where you're just kind of like there's a guy on there who is like particularly kind of being a tool, and we're just kind of like, who cares about you? He thought he had like all the girls in the competition on lock, and he really didn't. Like he
Mhm.
like because you could see on the other side, which I also said to Dre is like a really cool thing because like obviously, both of us being, females are on like one side of, male to female interaction, where like guys think that they're being like super cool, but like we read the messenger, we're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And it literally showed that. It was kind of like, that's amazing.
Yeah, this show is definitely something that like it's unique in the sense that I feel like a lot of times when I'm watching like reality TV shows, because it's scripted and they want to have a certain, like they always want the villain character, they always want like the good girl character, like they want the stereotypes. Um and so I feel like a lot of times like you're annoyed with the result, or you're like angry and you're just like, that's so annoying, like this person should have left. But I feel like this show in particular is very like, it reflects the viewer's desires. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of.
Because like even like the first two episodes, like the first two people that get voted off, like were exactly the people I'm like, if this person doesn't leave, I'm quitting. And then they left. And I was like, oh, sick. You know, like I would have thought that like they would have stayed because, you know, like they're that stereotypical character that's annoying and like this is this.
I mean, I guess that's maybe like one of those things about like, since they haven't met each other, like they kind of just have to assume that, you know, someone's a catfish. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like necessarily basing things solely off of like how people appear. Like it's how like you present yourself, even if it's like in an online way, like the way that you talk to other people and stuff,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that matters. Anyway, so that's our spiel for The Circle, I suppose.
Go
And
watch it, guys. Netflix.
and I suppose that I'll go watch it after this to cleanse my palate after Attack on Titan, because I'm just like so depressed.
Literally. But anyway, yeah, so we're just a quick podcast for today, guys. Something fun, lighthearted. And then next week we'll be back with something a little bit more scripted. We'll put more effort into it, I promise. But
It's
yeah,
been
this
a
was
tough
fun,
couple
Alex.
weeks, okay.
It's been a tough couple weeks, exactly. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.